All right, I am joined by Yusuf. Welcome to the podcast.
Thank you, Shepherd. I'm happy to be here. I'm happy to be here.
At least we had an exciting chat just now.
Yes, we
It's this type of chat that makes me excited. But putting that aside, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you.
And please introduce yourself and what you do.
Yes, that's a very loaded question. I think I sent you a brief introduction of who I am, and looking at your podcasts previously, I can see the structure, But for me individually, I don't really confine myself to like one box or a couple of boxes. So my name is Yusuf Magmoed. That's my full name. I am an individual that studied industrial engineering. I am an individual that is very business driven and entrepreneurship orientated. Uh, and I think that's the main functions. I'm very family orientated as well. Um, no wife yet, no kids. Uh, so I'm still doing my thing. Um, so yeah, I don't really know how to explain when people ask me who is Yusuf. I don't really know how to give an answer to that. It's a very structured. People normally give, I'm an industrial engineer, I'm a accountant, I'm a firefighter. But that's just your designation. It's not your who you are. So I'm also a very spiritual person in terms of not a very religious person, but a very spiritual person.
Okay.
So yeah, I think it's just a brief overview. So if you have any further questions, you want to
I do. I
want to
do.
poke at me,
I do.
I'm happy to answer.
Yeah, I think I understand your the way you answered the question. Like you said that you don't like being boxed,
Yeah,
and human beings only have one life, and in the few years that you
very short.
have to focus on something,
Yeah.
there's so much that you can do up until just before you check out,
Yes.
right? And maybe to structure this podcast very well is to try to talk about each and every aspect of who you are,
Yeah.
and not necessarily forgetting the type of podcast that we are, which is the education, right? And courses, right?
Yes.
But I love also delving in other areas because we're not just workers.
Yeah.
Like you said, like you're a family man. You love your family and all that. So I feel like those are things that actually add to you becoming you, and as an industrial engineer. So maybe let's get to your career. Please just take us through your
Career
career.
path. Yeah.
Yes, your career background. Yeah,
So I'm going to start from the very beginning.
sure.
And I was born in Cape Town. I was born in Cape Town. Yeah, I went to school in Cape Town. I graduated and matriculated at Spacebona High in 2014.
Shout out.
Hey,
Shout out.
shout out Spacebona.
Sure.
Shout out Spacebona. And after 2014, I was connected to a company called Sutherland Engineers by a organization, a non-profit organization called Go for Gold. Very good organization as well. So they basically streamline students and get them ready for an internship at a built environment company in the construction industry. So many companies. And I was fortunate enough to be connected with Sutherland Engineers. And I spent 2 years at Sutherland Engineers. from 2015 to the end of 2016. I went through a drafting academy for about 6 months, and yeah, I really enjoyed that experience. Previously in high school, I did engineering, graphics, and design, and I did mechanical engineering as a subject from grade 10, 11, and 12. I think it really prepared me for Sutherland. Um, so at Sutherland, I was in the mechanical engineering department, and I was the lowest of the low student intern. Um, so I worked with a lot of engineers on projects, specific projects that we installed HVAC systems, heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems. My job was to draw all that
Or the HVACs, yeah.
details and
Sure,
then
sure.
go to the engineer. Markups, just read lines everywhere, and just come back and start doing again.
Sure. Is it something where you were mixing both drafting and actually going to implement it on site?
Yes,
Okay.
yes. So I was fortunate enough to be part of the projects as well. So what you saw on the drawing, it wasn't very often, but you had opportunities. I probably went for about 6, 7 times during the 2 years to site. So big organizations like supermarkets, right? Heating, ventilation, air conditioning systems, and then they requested some changes in the system. So we had to draw what the changes needed to be, and then send it out to the construction, and they started working on the projects. And then a couple of weeks later, you return. Okay, check your drawings. Is everything in line? You start measuring. It's actually what the dimension says here is actually in reality. So that was at Sutherland. I thoroughly enjoyed my experience there. And after 2016, they offered me a bursary to study mechanical engineering. But yeah, I didn't at the time. I didn't feel as though it was my path. I didn't want to go down the mechanical engineering route. Even though I love engineering in general, it's just the mechanical engineering wasn't for me at the time. So fast forward, I applied in 2016 to study at CBUT. I applied at UCT. I applied at Stellenbosch University, and at CBUT I applied for what was it? I applied for, I think it was electrical, and then I applied for architectural, and my third choice, industrial engineering.
Sure.
My third choice, and I think it was just. I think at the time I went to the open day, orientation day. I think it was open day, and then I went to the electrical engineering department.
Yeah.
Looked at all the people around me. There's a lot of electrical engineering people at CBT.
Sure. Goldfield.
And it's just, also the same thing happened. I just didn't feel as though that path was for me.
Sure. I'm sorry,
Yeah.
Yusuf. Before you get to that part, right? I just
Yes.
I don't want us to sort of jump the stages, right? I just wanted to just first of all, I want to shout out to Go for Gold.
Go for gold.
Is it Go for Gold or Go for Gold?
Go for gold.
Okay, Go for Gold.
Yeah.
It sounds like it's really an interesting organization,
Very interesting.
and I think the opportunity that they gave you, it's amazing. I've never heard of
Yeah.
it, but I think it could be an option for students who are interested in going that route.
100%.
So I wanted to ask now that you mentioned that you loved your job as a draftsman and also going on projects. What is it exactly that you like the most, and are there any lessons that you can actually take out from there?
So my experience and why I loved my experience at Sutherland. Uh, AutoCAD.
Mm, mm,
I don't know. It's something about AutoCAD for me.
mm.
The software now, it's drafting software. It's 2D. You get drafting software that's 3D as well. So the 2D drafting software AutoCAD, I feel, I don't know about anybody else's opinion, but I feel I was quite skilled and good at it,
Sure.
right?
And I mean, you're coming from a place where you were doing draftsman, drawing boards.
Yes. So I was,
So when you got in
T,
front of a
T
PC,
square
sure, sure,
and
sure,
the 30-degree, 60-degree triangle and the 45-degree triangles.
sure.
So at high school level, that's what you did. You had a
Mm.
bench, the 30-degree slanted bench with your
Drawing
drawings,
board, yeah, sure.
the T square pencils, your HB, your 2H, your 4H pencil.
Okay.
And I think I was fairly good at drafting and drawing at high school level as well. So the shift to Sutherland
Become
was
digital, yeah, sure,
was, a,
sure.
was very good for me. I
Hmm.
really enjoyed that because I understood the work even before I started at
Yeah,
Sutherland. Uh, and all I needed to do at Sutherland was understand their work, how they do things. And I think I had a couple of mentors at Sutherland. Um, Sean Versveld, very good engineer,
shout out,
mechanical
yeah,
engineer. Rene Bonmeyer. Um, and the thing about them is that because I had this 6 month program, 3 month, 6 month program, they had some of the engineers come down and teach you and start basically ease you into the work. So even before you went into the teams to join the teams, by the time you've gotten there, basically you know what to do. So by the time after the 6 months, you're able to draw on CAD. You're able to understand what they mean when they ask for certain changes. So that made it very easy, and that I think made it enjoyable experience because I mean, as an intern, the pay wasn't good, but the experience that you get
sure.
was invaluable. So, and I mean, Sutherland is right by the sea on the shore, and so the vibe is amazing as well. Really enjoyed it.
Sure.
What also intrigued me was Sutherland wasn't just mechanical. They had electrical, they had civil, they had structural, they had facades as well, which is very new to me. Facade engineering, which is basically the exterior of the building.
I'm hearing for the first time now.
No, so like on these large buildings, like Standard Bank building, you see these ripples in the Standard Bank building,
Sure,
right?
sure.
That's on purpose. I mean, I'm not sure what the purpose is, but I mean that's on purpose. This facade of it. So they work so the facade engineers work very closely with the structural
Structural
engineers.
engineers, yes.
So yeah, on different stages of the project, you get the different teams involved. Southern wasn't involved in all stages of the project. So, for instance, an entire building, 12-story building or something that needed to be created, they weren't necessarily involved in the structural, mechanical, electrical, maybe part of it, but there were some really good ones that they were basically tasked to do the entire engineering of it.
Sure.
And that's when you start, as a student, start working with electrical departments, structural departments, so that because my HVAC system is very important to me. You needed to move to the electrical department. Okay, where all the plug points going to be?
Okay.
Right.
So you had all that experience in one place.
Yes. Yes.
So did you have some civil engineering
The civil engineering was
and structure?
It didn't work closely with civil engineering. They
Which makes
mainly
sense, yeah.
roads, bridges, and that type of thing.
Yeah, it sort of makes sense because if you're doing HVACs, because I work with, I'm an electrical engineer, so we
Yes.
actually do like get HVACs from
Yeah.
mechanical engineers, like you said. And like you said, there should be plug points
Yes.
to sort of switch off whatever that needs to be switched off at a certain time
Yeah.
if there's a fire and all those stuff,
Yeah.
which makes sense why both of them are sort of close to
Close
each
to
other.
each other.
And I think and I like what you said when you said the things that you learned there were invaluable.
Yeah.
Because I wish I had known about that. It would have made me a better
Yeah.
consulting engineering in the beginning stages of my career.
Because you understand the full spectrum of the engineering
That's correct.
and
Yeah.
you experience that. Yeah. I mean, maybe I'm taking it for granted. Not a lot of people get exposed to that type of thing.
Sure.
So yeah, it was eye opening, and I think it shaped also. It developed myself, shaped myself in terms of understanding behind the engineering.
Sure.
That is not just mechanical. That's not just structural, and that just because you have a plan doesn't necessarily mean it's going to work because somebody else in the other department is going to come along and have a different plan.
Sure.
And all of a sudden your plug points on that side.
Sure. I think that's super interesting, man. And you get to what do you call this? To CPT, like you said.
Yes.
You had your electrical engineering, industrial engineering. What was the one again?
Architecture.
Architecture.
So I wanted to be an architect for the entirety of my high school career.
Sure.
I applied at UCT. I did the entire portfolio of a grandmother sitting at a tree. I needed to do that drawing of a pattern. So my entire portfolio, I submitted to UCT and waited and no answer. And I don't know about what it was about myself, but I always have a backup plan. It's not one thing, and then if that doesn't happen, it's the end of the world. So because I was very interested in engineering, I mean, architecture was also partly engineering. Sorry, can you mind if I use my...
Oh yeah, I think we were talking about
Sutherland.
Sutherland.
Did we move on?
You always had a plan B.
You always had a plan B.
I always had a plan B.
Sure. Thanks, Elijah.
I mean, yeah, I always have plan B in terms of if anything I set my goal towards and I don't reach, it's always going to be what's next. Okay, it's a disappointment, but what's next? I can't just stop and wither in my sorrows. So architecture wasn't for me. Architecture, even though I love the drawings of everything, AutoCAD and that type of thing. I went to CPT in 2017. 2016, I went to the 2017, I went to the orientation day. Sat in the electrical engineering department, and eventually vibe wasn't for me. So after that, I went to the industrial engineering orientation day. And I think it was Professor Bosman from CPUT at the time. I think he moved on to another university. But Professor Bosman had a specific talk that he did with these students, and I was in that class as well.
Sure.
Basically opened my eyes to what industrial engineering is, because not a lot of people understand what industrial engineering is.
Sure.
Not a mainstream engineering field.
Sure.
So in that orientation day, basically made my mind up that working with people, working in an accounting field as well, working in a management field, working in a engineering field is
Yeah.
a mixture of disciplines
Sure.
that you do as an industrial engineer.
Sure.
And that's what appealed to me, because I don't consider myself one box, and I feel as though I had a lot of good people skills at the time. So yeah, made up my mind, and I registered for industrial engineering in 2017. So I did industrial engineering at CPUT for about the 3 years, and in service year in 2020, I started at the company now that I'm currently still at, working with power transformers. And 2020, everybody knows, COVID, was a tough year for everybody, but power transformers, having been a essential company supplying electrical equipment to the country, we stayed open. We closed in 2020, we closed about for 2 weeks in total, after the hard lockdown in March. And yeah, it was a tough year for me, particularly because it was my in-service year, so I had to complete my in-service in 2020, so for 12 months, from Jan to December.
Sure.
And within this first 6 months, I had a lot of experience at Sutherland, and I understood the workings of Sutherland. So I basically extrapolated the information and I understood the workings of a business. And I used that in my in-service year at Power Transformers, along with my industrial engineering knowledge that I've gained for the 3 years. And yeah, it was a challenge in terms of there was only one person in quality department, Nabila Kasim, my very loved mentor and manager at the time. So we worked in the quality department. So ensuring, so Power Transformers, as the name suggests, manufactures transformers. And at the time, my job was to obviously complete my in-service, but there were projects that CPUT also put out for me. And one of the projects was health and safety at the beginning. And then the second one was, I think it was improvements. Improvements. And couple my project in health and safety, my project in improvements, my newness in the company.
Sure.
And on top of that, COVID, I had to put a lot of protocols in place that the company asked for, right? So
you're doing this from scratch, or you're just building from what was already there?
The COVID protocols.
No, I mean the protocols here.
Yeah, no, build it from scratch. I mean,
Okay.
Yeah, build it from scratch. So you had a lot
So
of
you sort of have a
yes.
mind, a plan of the whole company. So you're sort of showing who's gonna be
Sorry.
spraying everyone in different places or something like that. Or something like that, or something different.
So it's something like that. I had to put those processes in place.
Sure.
So obviously no other company had that processes, obviously. And when in March, when the hard lockdown hit, there were a bunch of memos published by the South African government.
Sure.
The companies need to abide by
Adhere to
these
this,
regulations now.
Sure.
So my manager gave me the regulations, read through the regulations, see what we need to adhere to, and put things in place.
Sure.
That
How
was
was that? How was that?
tough because so you needed screening, you needed hand sanitizers, you needed desks and common areas to be
Always sanitize.
cleaned and sanitized at a regular basis.
Sure.
And you needed to be social distanced from one another. And that was challenging as a student. Now focus on my project, now focus on my improvement project,
Sure.
but also now trying to implement these things, these protocols. So every person at Power Transformers that stepped through into the premises needed to be scanned and their hands needed to be sanitized. And who was going to do that? Yusuf. So from March onwards, I probably rocked up at work 5:30, right?
You have to make sure everything is ready.
To make sure that I get there before anybody else gets there. Because if somebody else got there before I do, then I don't know where they were, what they touched, etc. So I needed to monitor. People needed to sign in. I needed to ask questions as well. So when they come in, do you have a cough? Do you have a runny nose? Do you have a sore throat? Needed to go through that questionnaire, take the temperature, and sanitize. Get through.
In your understanding, what is industrial engineering looking at it's sort of being I don't want to say you're being thrown into the deep end because it's just situations, you're just there and it's COVID and you have to sort of practice what you learned.
Yeah.
So in your understanding, what is industrial engineering?
So in my understanding, industrial engineering, the full term is industrial and systems engineering. And I think the second part
it's always thrown away.
Explains most of it.
Sure.
Systems engineering is trying to link processes together.
Sure.
Right. And industrial engineers look at the entire process, right, of a manufacturing plant. The same concepts and engineering concepts can be extrapolated into not just manufacturing, but other industries as well.
Sure.
So it's mainly manufacturing, but as an industrial engineer, you can operate in any industry that has a system. You break that system down into processes. You break that processes down into activities, and you either, if you want to improve the entire system, you improve the small activities that make up the process, that make up the system.
I think that's one of the best explanation of industrial engineering. I like how you broke it down into activities, processes, back to the small, minute thing that makes the whole company run.
I mean, it's for me, it's about first principles thinking. You break it down to the smallest possible thing.
Sure.
You can't wiggle that away.
Sure.
So yeah, it's that's how I think. That's how my it's problem solving. So engineering basically teaches you problem solving.
Sure.
So if you couple that with the knowledge of an industrial engineer, you have the tools to solve problems in systems.
Sure. And then you get to practice as a quality and safety. Is it officer?
Yes. So, let me just fast forward quickly
Okay.
at Power Transformers.
Okay.
So after the 6 months June 2020, my manager, unfortunately, or fortunately for her, she had a better position
Okay.
and she left the company. And the company was, I believe, were looking for an external person to get in. And I raised my hand. Can I step up?
Sure.
So I asked her to basically hand
To hand
over
over, yeah, sure.
the tools and the things that she was doing. What should I focus on? And she did that not reluctantly. She gave me everything. She taught me within that 2 weeks. She was fairly quickly that she just changed. And I think after that 6 months, the second 6 months, from July to December, I achieved all the company's targets in quality department. And because of that, they employed me as the quality assurance administrator. So basically the person that ensures quality in the company. So they have the ISO 9001 quality management system that needed to be maintained, improved. So ISO is like an international standards.
Sure.
And 9001 is the quality management of it. So I needed to learn all of that within that 6 months.
Sure.
I needed to also craft in terms of the application of everything. A lot of paperwork. It's a hell of a lot of paperwork. I don't like paperwork, but needed to do it. And then also after that 6 months, because I met all the company's targets, they eventually asked me to take over health and safety as well. So the company didn't have a dedicated person for health and safety, and they asked me to handle that as well. Power Transformers, let's not forget, it's a small company, so they didn't have much human resources or capital to expend to that type of space. And because I also studied partly health and safety,
Sure.
they asked me to do it. So fast forward now, I'm in charge of the quality department, and I have about four, 5, 6 people working under me. I'm in charge of the health and safety. I'm in charge of IT. And now, because I'm so ambitious and I don't think clearly, I also asked the directors for a certain project, right?
Okay.
And that project was mainly to improve the company's operations in production.
Sure.
And that basically, I call it the lean manufacturing project.
Sure.
So lean manufacturing is a big term. It goes back to Toyota production system. And so I asked them to do this. And they said yes. So it's a lot to handle, right? At a small company, having so many hats. But I think I enjoy the challenge. I enjoy being under pressure. But at the same time, I also need to stick. I need to, because in
So the point
2021,
you want to manage yourself as well.
yes, I have to. Time management is very important.
Please name 3 things that you like about what you're doing at the moment.
Being independent,
Number 1.
number one. because I'm in charge of my department, I have autonomy in terms of how I want to go about things.
Progress, yeah.
Yes, give me a goal to reach within a framework, but I'll get there in my terms. And also, it's not just about the results in terms of the company, but also the results in terms of the people that work with you, right? So you need to develop people. You need to develop a team in order to reach certain targets. And I think that's the phase I'm at now, where that's what I enjoy, managing people. I'm not the best manager. I'm not the best person in paperwork. But I think leadership comes naturally to me. I enjoy seeing people develop. I enjoy seeing changes in people. I enjoy educating people. So yeah, I think that's one of the
Things you love in,
the
you love
most
doing.
the things that I enjoy.
Maybe just a question similar to that. What makes a good industrial engineer? Maybe in general, because
In general,
yeah,
I it's a loaded question because
yeah, I know because as I asked you the question, I realized that okay, yeah,
I mean,
it depends on where you're working. Actually,
yeah,
Yeah.
it depends on where you're working, but
maybe you can just tailor made it to your industry.
I think so. To answer the question, in general,
Sure.
you need to make a change. I think the outcome is that if you employ somebody as an industrial engineer, whether it be in the production department, quality department, finance department, that person needs to make a change because that industrial engineer has knowledge and tools in order to make certain improvements. I think because it's your background, your knowledge base. To be an effective industrial engineer, you need to make a change, positive change, not negative change. So yeah, I think that's the answer, to make a positive change, whether in quality or production.
I think that really sounds cool. I like the your journey as a career. It was filled with nice opportunities,
Yes.
and it's nice just to see how your career like unfold. Because I think most of us, we sometimes don't. You as much as you can have a plan for your career,
Yeah.
there has to be an opportunity. There has to be a door that opens up for you. And I think for you, it's like all the doors were just opening at the right time. And maybe let's talk about this project that you are
But
working on
sorry,
now.
just to stop you there. I think
Sure.
I agree, opportunities, but I think you need to be open to the opportunities.
Yes.
Because remember, my vision was to be an architect. That didn't happen.
Sure.
I mean, you also need to stay positive. Just because I didn't become an architect doesn't mean I have to be grumpy all the time and negative.
Sure.
The world didn't give me what I
You
wanted.
you fell in love with IE and
Yeah.
moving forward.
Yes, yes.
I mean, that's cool. I actually like that a lot. And I just want you to maybe before, because I don't want to close before maybe giving us maybe what's this word now? I want you to just explain the project that you're doing now.
Yeah.
What tools are you using to implement this Lean Six
Lean
Sigma?
lean manufacturing.
Is Lean manufacturing? What's the
There's
difference?
a difference. There's
Okay.
a big difference.
Okay.
So lean manufacturing is the philosophy.
Okay.
There's no calculations. There's no these reviews and performance reviews, but there's no calculations involved. Six Sigma is the the calculation aspect of it.
Okay.
So you have a lot of tools and techniques in Six Sigma to manage and to measure and to define and to analyze processes,
Sure.
activities. And that Six Sigma gives you the quantitative background to make decisions.
Sure.
And lean manufacturing is the philosophy. So lean manufacturing is more about a person's mindset and a company's culture than it is about the numbers. So the project that I'm working on in Power Transformers is lean manufacturing, not Six Sigma.
Six Sigma. Okay.
Six Sigma, I
Thank you
think,
so much for just putting. I just love how you. I think I understand why you say you love teaching.
yes.
I think you're a good teacher as well.
Thank you. Thank
My wife, she's an industrial engineer. That's why I know about Lean Six Sigma.
Okay.
But I thank you so much for just explaining what is lean manufacturing
Yes.
and Six Sigma. And I think I always mix the two, I guess.
Yeah.
So,
No, there's a thing called Lean Six Sigma. It's
Sure.
a combination of the two.
Okay.
Yeah. It's just about how and where you can apply it.
Sure.
You can't apply it currently at Power Transformers because you need data in order to improve certain things. And
Sure.
the nature of the processes and production in our company.
Super manual.
Sorry?
Is it super manual?
It's super manual.
Sure.
So everything is paper-based. So
Sure.
the data is very slow to come in. And by the time you analyze it, the process that you're analyzing is not that.
Sure.
So I think Six Sigma, not necessarily just for larger companies, but it's more suited for continuous process production. So if you're console glass or something that has just manufacturing glasses all the time,
Sure.
there's tons and tons of data that you can analyze. But lean manufacturing is more getting a company to understand that we want to work in a certain way
Sure.
and we want to achieve certain targets, but also the aim of it is to make the company more profitable.
Sure.
And how you do that is by eliminating waste inside of the production system and basically increasing the productivity of that production system.
Sure. Two things: family and spirituality. I think we'll get business as well. You said you love business.
Yeah, business.
I think we'll try to make time to actually touch on those three things. But thank you so much for really coming through and sharing knowledge.
100%.
I actually learned a lot. I learned a lot on especially IE, how you defined IE. I really loved it.
Okay.
In closing, what has been a recurring theme in your career, and how has it helped you?
Recurring thing.
Theme, yeah, theme or theme. Yeah.
Theme. Oh, that's a tough question to answer. I'm not sure how to answer that. A recurring theme in my career. Learning. I think whenever I'm tasked with a certain challenge, I want to beat that challenge. So I need to gain knowledge. So I do a lot of research in terms of, so the project, for example, I've never implemented lean manufacturing in any other company before. So I need to know as much as possible about lean manufacturing.
Sure.
Before I implement it. Before I teach other people what lean manufacturing is, I need to know what lean manufacturing is. And I need to know how to implement it. So I go through a lot of books, podcasts, videos, courses to teach me about lean manufacturing. And I think that's not going to stop So the recurring theme in my career would be continuous learning.
It makes sense because you guys are always improving,
Continuous improvement.
continuous improvement, yes, and looking at how things are also improving, machines are improving, so that means you have to learn
Yeah.
how to sort of utilize those programs, depending if it's a program
Yes.
or system. But yeah, thank you so much, man, for coming through.
100%.
It was really nice having you, and looking forward to having our second sit down.
100%.
Awesome.
Thank you very much, Shepard.
Thank you so much. Cheers. There you go. And that bombshell. Thank you very much for watching, guys. See you on the next one. Cheers. Thank you so much for listening to this episode. I appreciate you taking time and tuning in and be part of our community. We get to share ideas, stories, and perspectives through this podcast. I hope you enjoyed it and found something valuable in it. Don't forget to subscribe and share with your family and friends. I look forward to connecting with you in the next episode. Until then, take care. This is the podcast signing out. See you next time.